Hey, good morning. It's Madam Eileen here to tell you more about face paint brushes. Hold on just a moment as we go down to my workstation. Here we go. These are flat brushes. You want to use a brush that is a good size for your paint, but also for your design. I'll start with the littlest one. This is one I got at Walmart. This brush is very small. Got a ruler, so this is about not quite a half inch, 3/8 brush. That's just a guess. I don't know if you can read the writing. I like to use little flat brushes when I'm doing designs like My Little Pony to get that square line on their clothes just right. And then this is a 3/4 brush, not quite an inch. I like to use this the most on my designs. And then you have your angled brushes. It's a flat edge, but it's at an angle to the rest of the brush, so one side is taller and one side is shorter. So this again is this is a Walmart special. So your inexpensive acrylic brushes can work very well, especially when it comes to flat brushes. And then this is a really good face paint brush. A 5/8 brush called Enchanted. I like the feel of this brush because of the narrow end, and the bristles are longer. Because the bristles are longer, they'll pick up more paint. This Walmart brush, it's on the, if I compare the short edges, short flat brushes will pick up less paint and you'll have to stop and reload paint on your brush more frequently. So it's good to get a flat brush that is a bit long, but make sure that they have some firmness. You know it's a good face paint brush if you pull the bristles back and as soon as you let go, it wants to spring right back into place. That's the sign of a good brush. A bad brush is if you pull it and you feel no tension, and when you let go, it will go forward, but it feels soft. There should be a nice spring to the bristles when you pull it. That'll tell you if your brush will be really good. If it's a soft bristles, it will not work as well on the face. Now you see that this flat brush is already loaded up with paint. I've been painting for about 8 years now, and I've just found that when I'm not going to touch my brush, but I'm still painting with it, if I let the paint dry, it actually lets that tip, it preserves that tip. All I have to do to clean it is put it in water for a little bit and then clean it like usual, and that paint comes right out. Also notice I do not have the paint all the way to the metal. That'd be really bad for storing your brush like this. But I find that my brush takes no harm when I do this. In fact, I would love to get more of this kind of brush. It just feels good in my hand, and it paints extremely well. And I'll show you some brush techniques now for how to get started. This is just an introduction on how to choose a flat brush and what kind of quality you have to look for. Here is the Walmart brush, and as you see, I try it. There's some paint still on this brush. Got to clean it before I have my next design. But it has, as you see, it flings a little bit of dust in the air, dried paint. That's a very good spring. As long as your brush can spring back into its original position, even though it's short, I can use this design. It's good to have 1/2 inch brushes and 3/4 brushes. I use those sizes the most because sometimes the child's face is extremely small and I can do the design a lot better with the 1/2 inch. Now, We use flat brushes in face painting, not just with a solid color, though a solid color would work. You can cover a large area with your brush and a solid color, but the solid color can be spread faster with a makeup brush that fans out really huge or a sponge. Now I want to show you. These are the major split cakes you need in your face paint kit. These are kind of too blue. So you want to have a green split cake for snakes, lizards, dinosaurs, reptiles, frogs. You want a fire cake. You could use this for making pumpkins, for making fire, for making, you can even make hearts with the red side. You want blue, blues for dolphins, for frozen princess crowns, snow, anything to do with water. You want a black split cake, going from black to white. This is stunning. Teenagers love the look of the black and white. You can use this in making almost any design look more classy for a teenager or a grown-up. And the one thing that I didn't put here, I'm fumbling in my face paint kit here. Here it is. You need a brown split cake. The brown you'll use for teddy bears and puppy dogs. So these are 5 essential colors that you need. And split cakes will usually go from a light color to a dark color. And that gives contrast to your painting. Anything you can do, lay down color, it will look good, better when it's graded like this. You can make your own, as you saw in my other video, or you can pre-buy them. I like getting these 3/4 inch containers because I can get all the colors on my 3/4 brush. A lot better than the other case. Nope, this is another one I made. I made it from white to red. And now I'm going to show you how to load your flat brush. Now, I like to largely use the spray bottle. So when I use a spray bottle to get my brushes wet, here I do have a 1 inch in my kit. This is just a regular paintbrush. Check the spring. You see this is a bit slower on the spring. It's not by much though. So it's still firm enough that I use this, but it is softer than my other brushes. If I was at a party and I had to do a design with the flat brush, I would bring lots of flat brushes because I like to use one brush on a face and I only like to use the brush in one color at a time because sometimes I don't have time to clean my brush at a party. So I would put this down on my plastic lid on my case and I would spray water down on the flat surface. And then I would stroke the paintbrush on both sides in my puddle of water right there. And that activates my brush. And then I'm going to get the color I need. I might give a spray or two on the paint cake itself. That way I have plenty of water. You can have too much water. Put my brush in and I pull forward and back. I push the brush down so the bristles flex, and then I pull. That kind of helps the paint get further up on the bristles. You can see how I really push down on the brush to drag them across. Once you think you have enough paint on your brush, then you can start painting like normal. That's a letter S. I want to do another letter S. Just doing smaller and smaller S's, dragging the tip to a similar vanishing point. Of course, you lift the brush up before you actually reach that vanishing point. That way you can group more lines in close together without all of it blending together in one large spot. So that's one way to load up your flat brush. Now the more traditional way, if I didn't have to worry about being extra cautious on my face paint, I would take a cup of water. I would then take my brush and I would dip it. You don't need to dip the whole brush in. Putting the whole brush into the water and lifting it up is overkill because as you paint, water that's collected on the whole brush will slowly pool together and form droplets. And while you're painting, those droplets can drip down onto your brush and play mischief with the paint that you have. Your paint. So after I dip my water and load up my paint, I then have to take a tissue and rub or dab that extra paint off or water off. So you only need to tip the base. In fact, if you want to spread the bristles out, push it against the side of your cup. You can see that yellow paint come off. Now, if I was cleaning my brush, then I would push it all the way down to the bottom, push the bristles down, and pull back and forth on the bottom of my cup. Stirring paint on my brush has the downside of if I use a light color, I might not remember that that brush needs to be clean, and I might pack it and use it. Of course, when I go to pick up a color, I then realize it's not a true color and that something else is going on. But this is my practice kit I'm talking about. My party kit that I bring to parties, I always make sure that the brushes are clean. I never store my dirty brushes in that paint container. I always put my brushes in a washing container. So I know any brushes in the washing container I used at the party and need to be washed. So thus I never mix up my dirty brushes with my clean brushes. So that's how I would wash off a brush during a party if I was dipping in a cup. Of course, if you use one brush per face and you're doing a lot of designs that require the flat brushes, then you're going to have to carry a lot of flat brushes. I have about 20 flat brushes, just enough to make sure I can cover a few designs during the party. But I try to get away from laying down colors with flat brushes and do that with sponges because sponges are faster to work with and easier to clean off. And you're just laying down color and suggestions of shadow and color depending on your design. So there I'm just pulling it against the bottom of the cup until it's clean, and then to make sure it's clean, I wipe it on a clean towel, and when no color comes off my brush, I know that this brush is pigment free and is ready for the next design. Since we're here, I'll just get my next brush. This is the only time that I really submerge my brushes. So I like to let paint, if I'm still using a brush, or I don't want to mess up that tip, I'll leave the brush laying sideways and I let that paint dry. And then I throw it into my painting kit. That way none of my bristles on my brushes die. When you buy your brushes, they have a small adhesive on your brush so the brush doesn't get damaged during shipping. Okay, so that's my introduction to flat brushes and how I load them up with paint, both using a spray bottle and using a cup of water. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and get a clean cup of water. Choose what is best for you for loading up your brush. I can load my brush up again using a dirty brush. In fact, I should show that. In this case, I'm going to pick up blue. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this blue. Blue, white, and teal. This is a 3-color split cake. Split cakes can be 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors, even 6 colors. Okay, so if you have paint on your brush and you're painting a design, we're just going to do this. And you run out of paint. You see how it's starting to skid? I keep trying to paint. It's skidding. I need to get more paint. The way I would get more paint is I would go to that wet spot, or I would spray some more water on that wet spot, and I would dip it here to re-wet and dip it here to re-wet, and then I would go over my split cake one more time. Or if I needed to reload it, I would spray the split cake once or twice, and then take my brush, which is skidding, and run it across. So those are 2 different ways that you can reload paint on your brush if you don't have a cup of water and if you just are working off of a spray bottle. And now we can go back to our design that we had before and trace over. And there we go. How to reload your brush. Of course, if I was painting on a face, I would not want to double dip back into my container. The container does have antibacterial properties, but you still don't want to gross people out who are trying to be as germ safe as possible. So it's always wise to get a new clean brush to reload and continue your design. Thank you for tuning in to this episode on how to use your flat brushes.